Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm Renee Brower from Amber Community and I'm joined again by Katie Norman, Senior Managing Solicitor at Law Partners, one of our legal partners. Today's episode looks at returning to work, understanding your rights and the value of specialised legal support. Katie, it's lovely to see you again.
Thank you for having me back.
What should people know about returning to work after a road incident in relation to the Transport Accident Commission?
For those clients, their work capacity is permanently affected. Either they can't return to their full duties or they can only return to restricted duties. They may also be able to pursue lump sum compensation from the TAC in respect to the loss of earning capacity that they had. Like I said at the start, it can be really complicated and it's a really daunting experience for clients. So we try and help them navigate their way and return to work to the best of their ability where they can.
Thank you, Katie. And you're touching on some great points there and, they're really stressful. This is a very difficult time. And I guess on that point, a lot of I imagine a lot of people wouldn't know or wouldn't think to maybe engaging a lawyer when, reaching out to the TAC. What is the added value of working with a specialist like yourself?
I think the system is very confusing and there's a lot of additional support which isn't apparent to you if you just sort of do a Google search and you see the basics. So we really make sure that the clients are provided with all the support options they had. That doesn't mean a client has to take advantage of everything. It's up to the client and what they're comfortable with and what they decide that they need for themselves. And it's really important in the process that the client drives what the process should look like for them. But we make sure that they're aware of every potential entitlement they have and that we pursue that entitlement to the best of the ability to get them the best possible outcome. It also, I think, takes away a lot of uncertainty. So a lot of clients come to us, they've never been involved in the system before. They're worried about how they're going to support their family. What are they going to do long term for work? And we can take them through step by step what they can potentially access and what that process looks like. And you can often see once they've had that initial consult, you can just see the stress levels coming down because they do have some certainty and then some control over the process and what their lives will look like going forward.
Thank you. That's really great to hear and very reassuring, I'm sure, for our listeners. Katie, we see non-car road users, like we see pedestrians and cyclists and motorcyclists. What rights do non-road car users have under the TAC scheme?
So they've got, in situations where they're injured and there's a motor vehicle involved, they have the same rights as if they were driving a motor vehicle. So I think there's a lot of misunderstanding and confusion about, for example, cyclists, what rights there are if they are injured because, for example, someone opens their car door onto them, which is unfortunately all too common. They can access medical support, income support from the TAC, and also potential monetary entitlements on top of that. The same for motorcyclists and the same for pedestrians if they're involved in an accident where they're hit by a car or they're hit by a motorbike as well.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And I guess with people who have been impacted by road trauma, what happens if a child or a dependent is injured or if a family member dies in a road incident?
There's a lot of support available in those cases. And again, you're navigating the loss of someone or someone that you love being severely injured. So it's already a really stressful situation. So I would encourage those people to seek some legal support early to have someone help them navigate the process. There's a number of different supports available both for the injured person and also if they do happen to unfortunately pass away to the family, the TAC can pay for funeral, counselling, and then anyone who's been left with an injury can also access loss of earnings payments, their medical and like expenses, and then potentially also do a common law damages claim for their own pain and suffering and loss of earnings. So there's lots of different avenues for those claims that people can pursue and they get very complicated quite quickly. Mm-hmm. And like I said, you're already dealing with watching a loved one either unfortunately pass away or become severely injured, or your child's life, you thought your child was on one track, they've had an accident, they're on a completely different track. So having someone behind you to help you navigate the legal process will get you a better outcome long term and, like I said, take away a bit of that stress that you experience.
Which is so beneficial in itself, isn't it? Just making that bit easier.
Absolutely.
We've talked about a number of different cohorts that can be impacted by a road incident. What about the legal rights that, if any, exist for people impacted by witnessing a road incident?
Again, this is something that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, that if you do witness a transport accident, you can actually lodge your own claim if you've been left with psychological injury. And so I often refer those clients to Amber at the start so that they can get some initial counselling. For some clients, with that counselling and support, that is enough to work through the trauma that they've experienced. If they are left though with ongoing trauma and injury, then like if you've been injured because you were a passenger or a driver in an accident, you can access medical support, income support, and also potentially common law damages or an impairment benefit if you are left with a long-term injury. Those cases, again, can be a bit more complicated, and so again, just to seek legal advice early if you find yourself in that situation. My experience has been a lot of clients don't lodge claims when they've witnessed transport accidents because they sort of take the position they haven't been injured, they're not the ones injured. And I think it's really important to recognise that seeing an accident is sometimes just as difficult and just as traumatic as being in an accident. So seeking that early support early on, I think will hopefully give them a much more positive outcome long term.
Thanks, Katie. I think it's really important, and it's great to know that you recognise that as well. And I think that'll be very helpful to our listeners as well.